I think inquisitiveness would be on the top of all those lessons, that you always have to be curious. You have to challenge what you have done in the past constantly. So every decision that you take, for sure, is not going to be the best decision, because you are balancing between the best available choices and the best feasible choices. That balance is constantly on. And that's why you would see a lot of reinventions that happen in software industry. Not just inventions, reinventions. People do the same thing in different ways to have a different kind of an impact. So I think that curiosity, it has to be natural. You can't force it.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of podcast/interview session/tech talk or a talk session. And this time we have a special guest with us, and he is none other than Samyak Mehta. So Samyak Mehta is a senior software engineer at Atlassian with over 10 decades of experience in software development, team leadership, and technical innovation. He also has a strong background with languages in terms of Java, JavaScript, AWS, and full stack development. And he also has held key roles at Freshworks and Simpress India, and is has lead teams to build robust software solutions. So welcome to this campus of our BTech, sir. And first of all, thank you. You've taken out your time from your work and all and given time to the students, had a session with them. So first of all, before me letting them know what exactly you've done, you just brief us about your start journey till actually leading. So yeah, the whole journey.
Thank you for having me. I think I've had a pretty straightforward, not very interesting journey, just like any other software engineer would. I did my bachelor's in engineering from Sardar Patel Institute of Technology in Mumbai. And I think my first breakthrough was getting placed in a software company. So I did my engineering in electronics and telecom. Okay. I wasn't even sure that I would be pursuing software until then. I tried my hands at CAT and different entrance exams for MBA, but then this company called Secular came to our campus, and I was able to score a job there. And probably the best thing that has happened as far as my career is concerned. So yeah, and then I think one thing led to the other. I worked around 3 years in Secular, Simpress, Freshworks, Atlassian.
So it was in your mind from the very start itself that you were going to go ahead with software development?
Not until I joined Secular, but yeah, after that I did not have any doubts. I knew
so
that
Secular was kind of an eye-opener for you. Okay, this is something I want to work.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can't claim it. I think I put it on sheer luck. Okay. Everything before that, I wasn't sure. But yeah, once Secular introduced me to software engineering career in general, I was pretty sure that this is...
So what kind of experience you had in Secular, and what was that impact that gave you, okay, yeah, this is something I want to do it?
So Secular is actually a security company, and it exposed me to full stack development from the very first day, which was there. Getting placed into product companies was looked up to, and was a thing that most students would pursue. Not anything against the services company, but I don't know, there was some feeling that the students had that getting placed in a product company is a good thing. I think the good thing about it was, like I mentioned, an exposure to full stack and some really good mentors. I would say I got exposed to very critical projects from my first year itself, and then eventually transitioned to leading a team of 2-3 engineers, driving projects by myself, I think towards the end of 2 years. So overall, I had a good push, a lot of belief from my seniors, and a little bit of my own interest in software, I think, which created the overall path.
So you were aware of every single thing that you were supposed to do over there, like from languages to tools and everything?
Not really. Like I mentioned, a lot of it was mentoring.
Okay.
And that followed by your own inquisitiveness. So for sure, you have to be curious all the time, because there would be no point in your software career where you would be able to claim you know everything. I don't think anyone can claim that. The idea is to reinvent, learn new things, and then think about implementing those things, and then forget, and then learn new things and think about implementing.
So, any critical project or one of the toughest project you might have found in Secure?
There were a lot of interesting projects. It being a security company, security was very centric to whatever projects we worked on. So I think that I and all my other colleagues that had joined with me, we sort of developed a very security-centric mind. There were multiple projects. I think to pick one would be a bit difficult. But then there were some projects which dealt with in-depth core concepts like encryption of data, right? And I think working on those projects was really eye-opening. And that combined with the right mentorship, I think created a very solid foundation.
How has your role evolved from a software engineer to a lead software engineer, and now being at a senior most position?
Bit of it is my interest, and also a natural transition that the industry offers. So I think once you have spent around 8 to 10 years as a core engineer with any company for that matter, your natural next step would be to either go the managerial way, become a manager, or you take up slightly architect kind of a role in any company and lead a team of engineers, ensuring that all the right technical decisions are being looked upon and all of that. I think my interest has always been towards technology, even though people have fascinated me from the very start. So I was trying to find a blend of both. Like, I did not want to get completely into people management, neither did I want to leave technology, and that's where I think a lead engineer, and then from a lead engineer and senior engineer are synonymous in that case. So your job is to lead a team of, let's say, 6 to 8 engineers, and then overlook the delivery of things and ensure that everything is of expected
stage
quality.
might have taught you some or the other thing, right? So what is that important, lesson that you still take ahead?
I think inquisitiveness would be on the top of all those lessons, that you always have to be curious. Next is you have to challenge what you have done in the past constantly. So every decision that you take, for sure, is not going to be the best decision, because you are balancing between the best available choices and the best feasible choices. That balance is constantly on, and that's why you would see a lot of reinventions that happen in software industry. Not just inventions, reinventions. People do the same thing in different ways to have a different kind of an impact. So I think that curiosity, it has to be natural. You can't force it. If you're not interested, you will not do it. But that curiosity has to stay with you, and then of course the eye to reinvent things would keep you going.
So for that matter, you also have to stay updated with all the recent trends and everything. How do you keep yourself updated and also make sure that your team is also, on the same page regarding the same updatation?
Yeah, I think a lot of time as an engineer, you have to spend on consciously going and checking what's new in the industry overall, what new technologies are coming up, and how are some key players adopting that. Why are they being discarded, or why are they being selected? So that comparison has to be a conscious choice. If you don't do that, then it becomes a bit difficult to sustain, as long as you are a technologist. So yes, a good amount of time every week is spent consciously reading on new technologies, what's new that's being taken up and what's new that's happening. And then a very healthy team culture is equally important, wherein everyone is encouraged to do the same thing, and then have time where you are discussing that, right? And you don't want to make it a process. You neither want to make it like an academic approach. It's more like, hey, what's cool now?
Yeah.
What's cool these days? And then you have this lunch table conversations or Zoom calls where Yeah, you just either, go for the pros and cons of those things and deep dive into those.
What about those meetups and tech conferences?
They have been happening less and less, unfortunately. So last 3 years, post-COVID, not a lot of conferences. But yeah, some of them are really helpful. I've attended a few of them in the past. So conferences help you with two things. One is a deep dive into the technology that is being talked about, and then also building a strong network around it, which is equally important. I think a lot of people overlook that. Just learning the technology is not going to fetch you the results. You have to learn it from the right people, and it has to be evaluated from a lot of lenses, not just your own.
Right.
And that builds collective intelligence, which then should be applied. So conferences do help you with that. They have been happening less and less, but I do see a revival of those, this being one of them. So yeah, I look forward. I think if more of them happen, I would really be up for the game.
As we know how AI and machine learning is like right now on everyone's head. So what do you think these are going to impact in software development, and in future, how is it going to impact?
Interesting question. So there are a lot of theories, and a lot of experts have different opinions of how AI is going to shape up. I think in my own personal experience of how much AI is being used for software development purposes and how people are perceiving, I think AI is going to impact not just software engineering, life in general. Software engineers probably would be at the forefront of adopting those changes, right? Because they are the closest to those systems. It would start with improvement in your own productivity, meaning the smallest example being 2 years earlier, if I have to do something, I would read a lot of documentation, go through a lot of people opinions, people blogs, and then come to a conclusion. AI today can do that in 1 minute.
1 minute. Right?
You just have to ask the right prompt and you would have all the information at disposal. You can also ask the AI to write code for you. And we are already doing that, right? So I don't see a need to shy away from that. I think it needs to be embraced. It for sure will change life. On a positive aspect, for sure it makes you more productive. You will be able to deliver more, reinvent more, invent more. Negative, I'm not too sure actually how will it change. For now, I just think even if there are negative repercussions, we would still be able to have boundary conditions on them and keep them in check.
Got it. So you have mentioned that your view on technology as both a philosophical and scientific tool.
Yeah, that's on my LinkedIn.
Yeah. So please elaborate about this perspective. How come it is philosophical as well as scientific?
I think for me that's technology, but for someone else it could be something else. So if you're really passionate about something, if something comes very naturally to you, it would be transcendental for you. I have had moments in my career where writing code was just like writing poem, right? It's a way of expression. To give you a slightly understandable example, right? So let's say you learn some musical instrument, flute. What they normally say is flute is just an instrument. Once you have mastered that instrument, what you then play on it is you.
Yeah.
You would play a different music, I would play a different music, and that music would represent you. Right. I think technology, if you are passionate enough, in its easiest sense, a programming language, or in its broader sense, a larger project, it's a tool to get out what you really are. It's just that you have to resonate with it at that level. And if you really do, it can transcend you in ways. So that way, for me, it acts as a channel for my own personal development and also psychological development. And hence it transcends the scientific borders and enters the philosophical. Yeah, from that perspective.
Beautiful. So when you had an interaction with these students in their first year itself, so what kind of vibe they had, and when you entered the campus, so what kind of vibe did you get from the campus?
I think students today are really spot on. They have a lot of clarity of what they are looking for. Something which I really appreciate about the new generation. Their questions are sharp, lot of curiosity. And at least I think especially on this campus, since they are exposed to all the newest tools. So someone just talked about Figma in UX design. That's something we use on day-to-day basis. I couldn't think something like this would happen on a college campus 10 years back. I think since they have so much exposure to what's new in the industry, that naturally creates a lot of questions in them, right? And hence paving a path to what they want to pursue. So yeah, I think it was the entire session was fire for me in a way. As much as I wanted to challenge their brains with complex topics, I think I myself got challenged in a lot of ways with their energies.
How do you, like after work and all, because your whole work is depending on tech and being with that coding background itself. So after that, what is that thing that you do to get yourself out of the work?
Fortunately, I am never tired of coding. So it does not stress me, fortunately. And I don't say this with any flex. That is how just it has worked out for me, and I don't claim it. But yeah, other than coding, I think I spend a lot of time traveling, reading books, philosophical books. Catching up with friends. I'm a pretty social person that way. So,
any recent place that you've traveled?
I just completed a coastal road trip from Bangalore to Mumbai. So I went from Bangalore, Mysore, Mangalore, then from Mangalore to Udupi, Gokarna, a little bit inland towards Humcha, back to Goa, stayed in Goa for around 10 days, and then all the way from Goa, Kolhapur, Satara, Mumbai. Took me around 23 days total, but yeah.
Any advice you would give to these students, just instead of, just study, what other things they can, get themselves into or engage themselves into other than studying? Or, in a way where they are updated with recent things as well, and they are also getting to learn some of the other things.
Yeah, I think one important thing is, so that you always have to balance two things. One is your core technical interests, and then how much of relevance do these interests carry in the world. Right, so you have a product, but can you sell that product? And I talk about this from a very entrepreneurial perspective. Skill development is absolutely important, but how relevant is that skill? You also need to keep an eye on that. I already see these students at par with all the tools that they have at disposal. That skill development is not a concern at all. I think what can come out of this setup is some really great products if they also get an insight into what the market is ready for, right? Are there peculiar spaces for some products or for some systems that you can create from a business sense or from a social sense? And then can you use technology to solve them? I think a great job is being done as far as the technical side is concerned. A little more your own inquisitiveness and curiousness, keeping an eye on social trends as well as business trends would, I think, just pave the way.
As you mentioned about entrepreneurship, so we have this opportunity for our students, like if they have come up with some good startup idea in the third or fourth year, they can actually go ahead with, pitching it to our VCs, having that actual setup of Shark Tank and all, go ahead with their own startup idea and grab a good fund for it up to, depends on, how that startup idea is, how it is worth it, and also we've made it so that other than tech, they are getting into networking, they are getting into connections by, going ahead with hackathons and meetups and all. And this is one of the things that we have introduced it to them.
Yeah, that's really amazing actually, having so much exposure and opportunities at disposal. I think then my only advice would be use them. Like, do your best to use these opportunities. Use this time like to the best of your ability, and try to get as much as possible. Because one is lack of resources, lack of opportunities. You start, so you have ideas, but you don't have resources and
Right.
opportunities. And the other is you do have them. Now
you
can
just
you
have to
utilize
use
them?
it.
Yes.
If not a software engineer, what would Samyak Meta be right now?
Difficult question. I think given my family background, perhaps a chartered accountant. But yeah, I really, it did not interest me that much for, I don't know what reasons. I don't know, maybe a dancer. Dancing is my hobby. I also thought about professionally pursuing it in the past, but did not work out.
So thank you so much, and
Always.
I hope you loved the session, the podcast, and everything.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.